Hi, Singkunidad! Hi, Singkunidad! Singkunidad! The President of the Philippines, according to Article 7, Section 4 of the 1987 Constitution, is elected by direct vote of the people for one term consisting of 6 years. The term of the President starts on the 30th of June and ends on the same date 6 years thereafter. So the President is only eligible to run for one term, and after that he is no longer eligible for re-election. There are 5 qualifications to become the President of the Philippines, and all of these qualifications are outlined in Article 7, Section 2 of the 1987 Constitution. So for an individual to become a president, he must meet the following criteria. 1. He must be a natural-born Filipino. 2. He must be a registered voter. 3. He must know how to read and write. 4. He must be 40 years of age at the day of the election. And number 5, he must have 10 years of residency before the election is held. So in Article 7, Section 1 of the 1987 Constitution, it is stated that executive power is vested on the President of the Philippines. So the President of the Philippines is the head of the state and head of government. And he also functions as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. So as Chief Executive, the President exercises control over executive departments, bureaus, and offices.
Good day everyone, my name is Josa Sulabo and I will tackle about power of president. Always remember that in our government we have 3 branches. The 3 branches are executive branch, legislative branch, and judiciary branch. In legislative branch, we have the president and vice president. In legislative branch, we have the Senate and Congress. In judiciary branch, we have the Supreme Court and the Regional Trial Court and MTC. When you say executive branch, the president and vice president. When you say president, it is also a chief commander. One of the power of president are veto power, means I forbid you. So pag may mga batas na sa palagay ni president na hindi naaayon sa 1987 Constitution na meron tayo, pwede niya yung i-veto or ibig sabihin na ipagsawalang bisa yung batas na yun. Number 2, power of control of executive branch. Isa sa mga pangyarihan ng presidente ay siya yung magtatalaga ng mga perspective official ng mga bawat department and bureaus. Like for example, yung mga department na meron tayo like Department of Health, Department of Justice, lahat ng department pwede niyang italaga yung secretary na mamuno dun sa department na yun. So, may kapangyarihan siya na i-reconfigure kung sino yung i-assign niyang mamumuno dun. Like for example, tinalaga niya si Secretary Briones as a Secretary of Department of Education. Number 2, power ordinance power. So, may kakayahan din yung presidente na magbigay ng kanyang mga orders na streamline doon sa programs na meron doon sa administration nila. Like for example, today, ano ba yung mga meron yung programs ng administration nila, di ba? Pinatupad nila yung train loan. So, isa yun sa mga priority ng administration niya at nagagawa niya yun because of the power and because of the issuance of power. Nakapaloob dito yung executive order. Ito yung nagbibigay ng utos. Yung president na nakaayon sa 1987 Constitution. Iniutos nyo to kasi ito yung dapat, ito yung nakaayon. Pero, pwedeng ma-reject or ma-override kapag chinek ng Congress. Diba, pag Congress, meron silang check and balance. So, ang ginagawa nila doon, chinecheck nila yung executive order ba ng president is tama at hindi nilalabag yung 1987 Constitution. Ganun din yung sa Supreme Court or yung judicial branch na chinecheck din nila, tinitignan din nila kung yung order ba na ibinaba ng Pangulo ay hindi lumalabag. Second, administrative order. So, President is considered an administrative head. So, as an administrative head, trabaho niya din magbigay ng mga administrative order about governmental operation. So, it includes finance, goods and services of the country, even the financial of the country, design and implementing programs. So, dahil doon sa mga governmental operation, trabaho niya din as administrative head na makapagbigay ng order. Number 3, proclamation. Proclamation order, mas mababa siya sa executive order and administrative order. Like for an example, ito yung sa mga dates and events na meron sa isang bansa. Like, for example, this day, pinoclaim ni President na holiday. So, pwede rin siyang mabag pag nag-iba ng presidente. Next is memorandum. This memorandum is very specific. For example, there is a specific department, there is a specific officer na sakop lang ng memorandum na yon. Ang memorandum naman ay binababa lang ng president sa agency, sa administrative, sa mga bureaus, sa mga department kapag may gusto siyang i-designated na formation or kaya for compliance, kumbaga kailangan nilang gawin. Next, ang president is considered as commander-chief ng AFP, ng Armed Forces of the Philippines na meron tayo. So, binibigay niya yung order na yun para sa mga AFP, particularly sa AFP. The last one is presidential decrees. Pero ginagamit lamang ito nung time ni Marcos. Kasi nung time ni Marcos, hindi nag-e-exist yung legislative branch. Kasi nga nung time niya, yung time ni Marcos, dictatorship. So, nasa kanya lahat ng kapangyarihan as a president. Hindi nag-e-exist yung legislative. That is why lahat ng power nasa kanya bilang executive. Bakit? Kasi ngayon, meron na tayong legislative, yung tatlong branch, yung executive, legislative, tsaka judiciary. So, ang tanong, sino ba yung pinaka-powerful? Ang sagot, walang pinaka-powerful kasi lahat sila pantay-pantay kasi may tinatawag tayo yung check and balance.
Hi, it's J. Servins Pataki, and now let's learn about the executive number 292, book 3, title 1, chapter 3, which is the power over aliens. The President of the Philippines has certain powers over non-Filipinos. In the Philippines, the powers he may exercise over foreigners country are as follows. What do we mean by power over aliens? So aliens actually refers to foreigners or non-immigrants or non-Filipino nationals dito sa bansa. Under that power, the chief executive may have an alien in the Philippines deported from the country after due process. So, may kapangyarihan yung ating presidente na magpa-report o magpaalis ng isang alien or isang foreigner dito sa Pilipinas, of course, after a due process of law. Next up, the president may change the status of a foreigner as prescribed by law from a non-immigrant status to a permanent resident without the necessity of visa. So meaning to say, without the needs or requirements or requiring visa, kayang-kayang gawing official Filipino national ng isang foreigner kung kailan gustuhin ng presidente. Cool, right? So, ako, gusto ko maging American citizen sa ibang bansa. Tropa ko naman si Biden. So, siguro, pwede niya akong gawing isang American national.
So, good day everyone, my name is Agent Josh Ruiz. My topic for today is all about power to reserve lands of the public and private domain of the government. First, the President shall have the power to reserve for settlement or public use and for specific public purposes any of the lands of the public domain, the use of which is not otherwise directed by law. The reserved land shall therefore remain subject to the specific public purpose indicated until otherwise provided by law proclamation. And second, he shall also have the power to reserve from sale or other deposition and for specific public uses or purposes, and land belonging to the private domain of the government or any of the fair lands, the use of which is not otherwise directed by law, and thrifter such lands shall be used for the purposes specified by such a proclamation until otherwise provided by law. Power over a garden well. The President shall direct the Solicitor General to institute proceedings to recover properties unlawfully acquired by public officials or employees from them or from their nominees or transferees, with the period fixed in or any extension thereof authorized by the Constitution. The President shall have the authority to recover garden properties amassed by the leaders and the supporters of the previous regime, and protect the interests of the people through orders of sequestration, freezing of assets of accounts.
Number 5 is power of appointment. So power of appointment, the president has the power to appoint an official in the Philippine government as provided by the Constitution and laws of the Philippines. Some of these appointments, however, may need the approval of the Committee of Appointment. So the Committee of Appointment is composed of members from the Senate of the Philippines as well as the House of Representatives. So mas detailed or provided lalo sa Executive Order number 292, Book 3, Title 1, Chapter 5, Section 16 and 17 ang power of appointment. So in Section 16, yun na yung nabanggit ko na power of appointment nga. While in Section 17 naman, this is the power to issue temporary designation. So number 1 in this power is the power of the President to temporarily designate a person or an official in the government service or any other competent person to fulfill a role or a position in the office of an executive branch. So, this is vested in him when A. The officer regularly appointed to that position cannot perform his duties due to illnesses or absence or any other cause. Or B. When there is a vacancy in that position. So number 2 naman, the person temporarily designated in that position is compensated, has the compensation based naman dun sa position na yun. Unless of course, government official na siya, so may additional compensation na lang dun sa salary niya. And number 3 naman, a temporary designated officer or position cannot exceed 1 year. So, ang 6th power naman natin, ay ang power of general supervision over local governments. So, provided din to sa Executive Order number 292, Book 3, Title 1, Chapter 6. So, dito naman, Section 18. So, it is stated here that the President has the mandate to supervise local governments despite their autonomous status stated or provided in the Republic Act number 7160, which is also known as the Local Government Code of 1991. Traditionally though, ginagawa to ng DILG or Department of Interior and Local Government na headed by a Cabinet Secretary. Number 7 naman is Other Powers. So other powers is also stated and provided in the Executive Order number 292, Book 3, Title 1, Chapter 7, Sections 19 and 20. So Section 19 states that the President has the power under the Constitution, and Section 20 naman states that the President has residual powers. So sa residual powers naman, unless the Congress states otherwise, the President can exercise these powers and functions. So, kapag sinabi kasing residual powers, these are the powers na hindi siya prohibited, it's not prohibited, and it's not explicitly given rin sa Constitution or sa law. So, that's the powers of the President.
Hello everyone, I am Jan Paul Rwando from UMSA Aristotle, and my topic are line of succession. Line of succession. The Constitution provides for a line of succession in the event that the elected President of the Philippines is not able to discharge the duties of his office due to death, disability, or resignation. The line of succession defines who becomes or acts as President of the Philippines upon his incapacity, death, resignation, or removal from office by impeachment and subsequent disqualification of a sitting President or a President-elect. The following is the line of succession. Number 1 is Vice President. In cases of the death, disability, or resignation of the President. Yung Vice President daw po ay ang tungkulin ng Vice Presidente ay pamunuan ang Senado. Ang Vice Presidente ay hindi maaaring bumoto sa Senado maliban upang masira ang isang korbata o maaari silang formal na tugunan ang Senado maliban sa pahintulot ng mga senador. Ang pangalawa ay ang Senate President. Senate President in cases of the death, disability, or resignation of the President and Vice President. Yung Senate President, ang naman po ay mga pangyarihan figura sa Senado. Ang Pangulo ng Senado ay namumuno, opisyal ng Senado o pati na rin ang karamihan ng grupo sa ilalim ng Constitution. Itinuturing na pangatlo sa linya ng sunod-sunod pagkatapos ng Pangulo at Vice Presidente. Ang pangatlo ay ang Speaker of the House of Representatives. In cases of the death, disability, or resignation of the President, Vice President, and the Senate President. Ang ginagawa naman po ng Speaker of the House of Representatives, ito ay ang tagapagsalita ng Kamara, pinuno ng partido ng karamihan at pinuno ng pamamahala ng institusyon. Contrary to popular belief, the Constitution doesn't include the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in the President's line of succession. The Congress of the Philippines is mandated enact a law calling for a special election three days after the vacancy in the office of the President and the Vice President. The special election should occur 40 days after the enactment of the law, but not later than 60 days after the enactment of the law. Yun lamang po at maraming salamat.
Vice President of the Philippines. So according to Article 7, Section 4 of the 1987 Constitution, the Vice President of the Philippines is elected by direct vote of the people for one term consisting of 6 years. So the term of the Vice President starts on June the 30th after the election and ends on the same date 6 years after. So the qualifications to become the Vice President of the Philippines is stated in Article 7, Section 3 of the 1987 Constitution. So, Article 7, Section 3 of the 1987 Constitution states that the Vice President has the same qualifications, or is supposed to have the same qualifications that of the President. So, if you guys still remember, there are 5 qualifications. So, 1. He must be a natural-born Filipino. 2. He must be a registered voter. 3. He must know how to read and write. 4. He must be 40 years of age at the day of the election. And the 5th one is that he must have resided in the Philippines for 10 years before the election is held.
Magandang umaga. Ako nga pala si Willa Rubio mula sa pangkat 5 Ang aking tatalakayin naman ay tungkol sa Vice Presidente. Nakapaloob dito ang kanyang tungkulin at linya ng pagkakasunod bilang isang Vice Presidente. Ayon sa 1987 Constitution of the Republic Act of the Philippines, Article 7, Section 3, maaaring kumuha ng posisyon sa gabinete ang Vice Presidente kung ito ay iaalok sa kanya ng Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Bukod sa pagkuha ng posisyon sa gabinete, siya ay magiging kalihim ng Pangulo ng Pilipinas kasabay ng kanyang hawak na posisyon. Sa linya naman ng pagkakasunod, maliban sa pagkuha ng posisyon sa gabinete, siya ay maaaring maging presidente kung ang presidente ng Pilipinas ay namatay, nagretiro o natanggal sa pwesto. Maaari siya pumalik bilang presidente ng Pilipinas.
The position of Cabinet Secretary traces its origin to the War Cabinet of Commonwealth Government in Exile, when Colonel Manuel Nito was appointed Secretary to the Cabinet by the President Manuel L. Quezon in Asheville. Under President Carlos P. Garcia, a Cabinet Secretariat was formally established as an attached agency to the Executive Office headed by the Executive Secretary. Under the administration of President Ferdinand Marcos, its responsibility was transferred to the Office of the Prime Minister. Pagkatapos ng People Powers Revolution, ang Cabinet Secretariat ay nabuo muli sa pamamagitan ng Executive No. 237, Series of 1987, na pinirmahan ni Presidenteng Corazon Aquino. Ito ay binago ng pangalan ng Office of the Cabinet na si Presidente Benigno Aquino III noong Oktubre 31, 2012 sa pamamagitan ng Executive Order No. 99. Ibinalik niya ang Office of the Cabinet Secretary bilang isang independeng katawan mula sa Presidential Management Staff, katulad ng orihinal na utos nito. Noong 1987, ang Cabinet Secretary binigyan ng ranggo sa gabinete at sumuporta sa mga tauhan. Sumailalim sa reforma ang tanggapan noong 2018 ang maglabas si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte na Executive Order No. 67 na nagpalit ng 8 ahensya sa ilalim nito sa iba pang mga ahensya ng gobyerno at pinalitan nitong pangalan bilang Cabinet Secretariat.
Hi, my name is Almar Vincent Antoral. At ang topic po sa akin is what is the function or role of the Cabinet Secretary? Cabinet Secretariat, formerly the Office of the Cabinet Secretary, or sa Pilipino, ang tawag po dito is tanggapan ng kalihim ng gabinete. Ano nga ba ang mga role nito? Meron itong dalawang role based on my research. The first role is based on Article 2, Section 2 na nagsasabing ang gampanin ng gabinete is magbigay ng payo sa Pangulo kung sa anumang uring paksang maaari nitong talakayin, depende kung anong department ka nabibilang. Meron po tayong 15 executive departments, includes the Vice President. Kung ikaw ay kunyari isa kang Cabinet Secretary ng Agriculture, lahat ng mga pwedeng itanong ng Pangulo sa department mo is dapat makipagbigay ka ng payo o makapagbigay ka ng impormasyon sa kanya. The second role naman is you need to serve as the administrative head of your department. Yun nga po, dapat alam mo kung ano yung mga dapat mong gawin or ano pa yung mga problema or mga maaaring itanong ng presidente sa iyo upang alam mo yung ipapayo mo sa kanya kapag nagtanong siya sa iyo. Yun lang po.
Hello everyone, I'm Irish Nicole B. Verdera and I'm assigned to discuss about the powers of the Cabinet Secretary. The Cabinet Secretary is the alter ego of the President in the respective departments. Alter ego means other self, so the Cabinet Secretary is like the other self of the President. Nasabi ito kasi they execute the powers of the Office of the President mula sa respective departments nila. May power sila na magbibigay ng directives na related sa department nila katulad ng department orders. Itong mga orders na to is only applicable sa mga offices na kabilang sa specific department under the Cabinet Secretary's jurisdiction in authority or in power. So, ang Cabinet Secretary ay nagsisilbing advisor ng President. Advisor sila pagdating sa respective departments nila since sila din yung magiging head nun. For example, I'm the Cabinet Secretary of DENR. So, it means ako din yung magiging advisor ng President pagdating sa matters, issues, and businesses related sa environment na yon bilang isang Cabinet Secretary.
Hi, good day to all of you. I'm Jenna Tutanes, assigned to discuss the appointments of Cabinet Secretaries. According to constitutional and legal basis, the appointments of Cabinet Secretaries on Article 7, Section 16 of the Constitution of the Philippines says that President Rodrigo Roa Duterte shall nominate with the consent of Commission on Appointments that appoints the head of the executive departments and ambassadors, also the other public ministers and consuls, or officials of the armed force from the rank of colonel or naval captain, and the other officers whose appointments are vested in him and this Constitution. He shall also appoint all of the officers of the government whose appointments are not otherwise provided by the law, or vest the appointment of the other officers lower in rank in the President's only, maybe in courts or in the heads of departments, agencies, commissions, or on the boards. So, dapat po na magnomina daw po ang Pangulo at ang pagsang-ayon ng Komisyon ng Paghirang. Ukol dito na dapat humirang ang mga puno ng mga kagawaran tagapagpaganap, gayon din ang mga ambasador at iba pang mga pambayang minister at konsul, o mga pinuno ng sandatahang lakas mula sa rangkong koronel o kapitan ng hukbong pangdagat at iba pang mga pinuno na ang mga paghirang ay nakasalalay sa kanya at sa konstitusyong ito. Dapat din niyang hirangin ang lahat ng iba pang mga pinuno ng pamahalaan na ang paghirang sa kanila ay walang ibang tinadhana, ang batas, at ng mga maaari niyang hirangin sa pamagitan ng batas. Maging ang Kongreso sa pamamagitan ng batas ay maaari magsalalay sa Pangulo lamang sa mga hukuman o sa mga puno ng kagawaran, mga sangay, mga komisyon o mga kalupunan ng kapangyarihang humirang ng iba pang mga nakakababang pinuno.